Look at the cup in your hand right now. Not later. Not hypothetically. Right now. The one you reach for this morning almost automatically. Before your mind was fully awake. Before your body had a chance to ask what it actually needed. If you're over 60, that single cup is quietly doing one of two very different things inside your body. And the difference between them isn't small. It's massive. It's either helping shut down the exact fuel system aggressive cancer cells rely on to grow, or it's feeding that system, amplifying it. Like pouring fuel onto a fire you didn't even realize was still burning. Same habit, same drink, completely opposite outcomes. And here's the part most people never hear. The majority of people over 60 are unknowingly choosing the version that works against them every single morning. Not because they don't care. Not because they're careless. But because no one ever showed them the difference. So before you take your next sip tomorrow morning, you need to know exactly where you stand. This isn't about quitting coffee. In fact, it's the opposite. The truth is, when coffee is prepared the right way, it becomes one of the most underestimated tools for protecting your body, especially as you age. And we're not talking about trends, opinions, or social media advice. We're talking about real, peer-reviewed research that has been quietly building for years. One massive review published in a respected medical journal analyzed data from hundreds of studies on coffee consumption. What they found surprised even seasoned researchers. People who drank around 3 to 4 cups of coffee daily showed a noticeable reduction in overall cancer-related deaths, particularly in cancers affecting the liver, colon, and other critical systems. That's not a small shift. That's statistically meaningful. But here's what almost nobody explains. Those benefits don't come from just any coffee. They come from a very specific way of preparing it. And that's where things start to go wrong. Because while coffee itself contains powerful natural compounds, the way most people prepare it actually destroys or cancels out those benefits, sometimes completely. Think about the typical morning routine. Dark roasted beans, often bought pre-ground weeks or even months ago. Brewed hot, left sitting, sometimes reheated. Sugar added without a second thought. Flavored creamers poured in for taste. It feels normal, comfortable, familiar. But beneath that routine, 3 things are happening inside your body that you never see. First, the darker the roast, the more heat the beans have been exposed to. And that heat strips away a large portion of the beneficial compounds your body actually needs. Second, the sugar and flavored additives create a rapid spike in blood sugar levels, something your body becomes more sensitive to as you age. And third, many of those creamers contain processed ingredients that quietly contribute to inflammation, the exact internal environment that serious diseases tend to thrive in. So without realizing it, that comforting cup becomes something very different. Not protection, but pressure. Not support, but stress on your system. And the most dangerous part, it doesn't feel harmful. It feels normal. That's what makes it so easy to repeat, day after day, year after year. But here's where everything begins to shift. Because there is a version of coffee that works with your body instead of against it. A version that preserves the key compounds your cells can actually use. A version that supports balance instead of disrupting it. And that's exactly where most people get it wrong. Because the difference between a harmful cup and a helpful one isn't dramatic on the surface. It doesn't require expensive equipment or complicated routines. In fact, everything you need is probably already sitting in your kitchen. But the details, the small, overlooked details, are what change everything. Let's start with the beans themselves. The version of coffee that supports your body begins with a light to medium roast. Not dark, not oily, not overly bitter. Here's why that matters. Coffee beans naturally contain a group of compounds that play a key role in how your body processes energy, especially something called chlorogenic acid. This compound is one of the main reasons coffee has been linked to better long-term health outcomes, but it's fragile. The longer and hotter the beans are roasted, the more of it gets destroyed. By the time coffee reaches that deep, dark roast most people are used to, a large portion of those beneficial compounds is already gone. What's left is flavor, but far less function. So right away, one simple shift, moving from dark roast to light or medium, starts preserving what your body actually needs. Next comes freshness. This is another detail almost nobody pays attention to. Pre-ground coffee might be convenient, but once beans are ground, they begin losing their active compounds quickly. Exposure to air, light, and time breaks them down faster than most people realize. That bag sitting on a shelf for weeks, it's already lost much of what made it valuable in the first place. Freshly ground coffee, ideally used within a couple of weeks, holds onto those compounds far more effectively. Again, small change, big difference. Now let's talk about brewing. This is where things get even more interesting. The method matters more than most people think. Using a simple paper filter when brewing your coffee does something very specific. It removes certain natural oils found in coffee. Oils that, while not harmful in small amounts, can raise cholesterol levels when consumed regularly in unfiltered forms. At this stage of life, that's not something you want to ignore. The filter allows the beneficial compounds to pass through while holding back the heavier elements your body doesn't need in excess. It's a quiet upgrade, but an important one. And then we come to the part that makes the biggest difference of all. What you add, or don't add, to your coffee. Because this is where even the best quality coffee can be undone in seconds. Sugar, flavored creamers, artificial sweeteners, they all trigger a rapid response in your body. Blood sugar rises. Insulin follows. And within minutes, the internal environment shifts. What could have been a supportive drink becomes something that disrupts balance instead. Drinking your coffee black avoids that entire chain reaction. And if that feels like too big of a jump right now, there's one small addition that can actually enhance the benefits without causing that spike. A 1/4 teaspoon of true cinnamon. Not the common variety found everywhere, but the more natural form often labeled as Ceylon or true cinnamon. When added before brewing, it works alongside the compounds in coffee to support more stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. It's subtle. You might not even notice it at first, but your body will. So now step back and look at the full picture. Light to medium roast, freshly ground, paper filtered, no sugar, no creamer, a touch of real cinnamon, that's it. No complicated system, no expensive add-ons. Just a different way of using something you're already doing every morning. And when you put those pieces together, something interesting starts to happen inside your body. Because now, instead of working against your system, that same daily habit begins supporting it in ways most people never even realize. And this is where things move beyond simple habits and into what's actually happening inside your body. Because once you switch to the right version of coffee, something deeper begins to shift, something most people never see, but your body feels every single day. Let's start with the first mechanism. Inside your digestive system, there's an enzyme responsible for breaking down carbohydrates into simple sugars. It works quickly, sometimes too quickly, flooding your bloodstream with glucose right after a meal. Now here's the key point. The natural compounds preserved in properly prepared coffee help slow that enzyme down. Not stop it. Not block it completely. Just slow it enough to change the way your body absorbs sugar. And that matters more than you might think. Because when glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually, you avoid those sharp spikes and crashes that stress your system, especially as you get older. But there's another layer to this. Aggressive cells, especially those linked to serious diseases, don't behave like normal cells. They consume glucose at a much faster rate, almost like they're constantly searching for quick energy. So when your blood sugar spikes suddenly, it doesn't just affect your energy levels. It creates an environment those cells can take advantage of. By flattening that spike, even slightly, you're quietly removing one of their easiest fuel sources. You're not starving your body. You're simply making it harder for the wrong cells to thrive. Now let's move to the second mechanism. And this one is even more powerful. Your body has a natural process often described as a cleanup system. It identifies damaged cells, worn-out components, and irregular activity, and then breaks them down so they can be removed or recycled. This process becomes increasingly important as you age, because over time your cells accumulate damage, small errors that, if left unchecked, can lead to bigger problems. Here's where coffee plays a role. When you drink it black, especially in the morning before eating, it helps extend your body's overnight fasting state. That extended window signals your cells to go deeper into this cleanup mode. It's like giving your body extra time to take out the trash before starting a new day. Damaged cells are more likely to be identified. Unstable activity is more likely to be corrected. And your system runs more efficiently as a result. But, and this is critical, the moment you add sugar or creamer, that entire process slows down almost instantly. Your body shifts out of cleanup mode and back into storage mode. So the benefit disappears not gradually, but quickly. That's why the way you drink your coffee matters just as much as the coffee itself. Now the third mechanism is quieter, but just as important. It has to do with inflammation. Not the kind you feel when you get injured, but the low-level, constant type that builds slowly over years. You don't notice it day to day, but it shows up in your body's internal markers. It affects how your system responds to stress, and over time, it creates an environment where long-term health issues are more likely to develop. The compounds in light to medium roast coffee, especially when paired with real cinnamon, help reduce the activity of certain internal signals that drive this inflammation. Think of it as lowering the background noise inside your body. Less noise, clearer signals, better balance. And when all three of these mechanisms work together, stable blood sugar, deeper cellular cleanup, and reduced inflammation, you create a completely different internal environment than most people walking around today. Same cup of coffee, completely different impact. But at this point, you might be wondering, does this actually make a noticeable difference in real life? Not just in theory, not just in studies, but in someone's day-to-day health. And that's exactly what we're going to look at next. Because once you see how a single change affected someone over just a few months, you'll understand why this isn't just another health tip. It's a shift worth paying attention to. If this is opening your eyes even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone over 60 who starts their day with coffee. It might be the simplest change they make this year that actually matters.